2 videos in one day. See, I told you I was going to do my best to catch up on the videos that I forgot to do or didn't manage to do. I told you I'd do it. But the other video today was a little bit, heady and, smart people stuff. Let's go back to the basics and let's go back to wellness and mindfulness related stuff, because that's what I like to have both. Get a guy who can do both, right? He can talk about heady, political topics, but it can also talk about wellness and mindfulness related stuff. Yes. But okay, today I'm going to talk about a technique that I think is really good, and I've been using it a little bit myself recently after having read a book that I kind of got it from a book and then kind of adapted it for my own purposes, just because I thought it was not a bad concept. And it's been helping a little bit. And just like with everything, it's just another one of those techniques and toolboxes that you can use in your toolbox, so that like when you have issues or struggles or stress, anxiety, nervousness or whatever, you can somewhat help to manage that. Or even if you're just tired, I think it also helps as well. But it's pretty simple, pretty easy. Now, the way it kind of starts is, it's best to be sitting down or to be like lying down or sitting down, but I guess you can kind of just, do it anywhere. And like with most things, I think it's easier, like with a lot of these things, I think it's easier when you close your eyes, just because it, shuts off all the visual stimuli, and I think helps your mind to more easily visualize what you're trying to do, or visualize the technique. So it starts off with, sit down, you close your eyes, and the way it kind of works is you spend a couple minutes, only takes a couple minutes, the technique, but it's about going through different stages of the day in your mind. And I know it doesn't, I'm not doing a great job explaining it from the get-go, but I'll kind of, once I kind of dole it out, I think you'll kind of get what I mean. But the first thing I visualize is me waking up in my bed, or waking up in a bed, and almost looking to the side, just waking up, looking to the side, and there is a open window with kind of the curtains somewhat kind of blowing in the wind a little bit, and the sun's coming in, and it's kind of coming down into the hallway or into the room. And so that's the first part, is kind of visualizing that and kind of focusing on that thought like that for a couple of moments. Let's say maybe a minute or so. And I think with each of these stages, spend about a minute or two kind of just visualizing it. And then once you've done that for about a minute or two, the next one, and you kind of want to feel at the time a sense of, not tranquility, but I guess calmness. I think that's the thought or feeling that you want to associate with that stage is calmness. And then once you've done that, you move into the second setting, which for me, how I visualize this, and you can kind of adapt the scenery to what you want it to be, but the scenery that I like to go next to is almost like I'm standing on a cliff face overlooking almost like this Mediterranean kind of port city. And it's really bright and sunny, and there's blue sky and some clouds around, and there's a little bit of a breeze, and I'm standing at the top of the cliff, and I'm looking out across the bay and across the port, and the thought or feeling or thing I try and encapsulate with that scenery is tranquility. And is it tranquility? Yeah, I think it's you can change it for whatever you want, but for me, I think the one I use is tranquility. In that one, I try and focus on that feeling, looking across the port, and then I do that for a couple minutes, and then the third setting is kind of I'm walking, and I'm always reminded of the song by Sting called the Fields of the Fields of Barley and stuff like that, and I guess that's what the third scenery is. I'm walking down this slight, dirt patch, or this dirt road or walkway, and on either side of me, and one's a little bit raised than the other, so it's I'm walking on this path, and on the right of me is a kind of field of barley or or wheat or whatever you want to call it, and then on the other side is slightly raised is another one. And I'm walking down this path, and it's a kind of sunset moment where it's that kind of orangish amber, skybox. And the thought I kind of have at that moment, or like the feeling I try and encapsulate it in that scenery, is content, contentment, or is that, I don't even know if that's a word, but the feeling of content. That's the almost like the thing of like, you've had a long day and it's been a long productive day, and you're kind of on your way walking home down this dirt patch or dirt road, and you with these fields of barley next to you, and you've got this sense of contentment, I guess, is the thought that I next want you to go through and kind of and really absorb yourself into. Then the final one, the last one, this is one, like, especially if you're trying to go to bed, or like, trying to wind down for the end of the day. The last one is almost like this small, like I'm standing at the bank of a small, like, pond or lake or whatever you want to call it, and there's these trees and bushes that kind of overhang the water a little bit, and it's like pitch black, there's no light or anything, the only light source is the moon, and it's kind of got this silverish gaze and beam of light that kind of like dances off the water, off the dark water of the lake. And the thought I kind of have at that moment, and I try and encapsulate, is like serenity. Like that's what I try and focus on when I'm in that final setting, which is serenity. And the reason why I like this technique is it kind of goes through the major points of your days, where like waking up, being in the middle of the day where you're doing a lot of stuff, or like getting things done, the end of the day when you're kind of coming back home, winding down, and then the last part where you're kind of preparing for rest and to put a close to the end of the day. And I've really enjoyed this. I've only been doing it for a couple of weeks, and I haven't done it as much as I should, but I have, when there's been moments, tried to do it, try to employ this technique, and I think it's a really good one, and I really enjoyed it. And so I recommend you do it too, and tell me, do you have you might have different sceneries that you use, but you really want to use that format of like kind of the beginning, middle, afternoon, and then evening structure of the kind of the thought pattern and visualizations. So you really want to follow that structure. So, but you might have different scenery, so I'd love to hear what you come up with, or what feelings or thoughts you try and focus on during each of the different stages. So yeah, give it a go and tell me what you think. Bye!